Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to TheLastWord Sports. I'm your host today, Charlie Owens, and today we got Scott, we got Nick, and coming over from the music channel, we got Dimitri Tronjo.
What's up,
How is
guys?
everybody doing today?
Good.
Fantastic, Chuck.
Good, man. How are you?
Dude, I am fantastic because today we are talking about our top 10 greatest basketball players of all time.
Hot topic.
We are ready. We got our list ready to go. Let's just not waste any time, man. Go ahead, Scotty.
Before you start, Chuck, I just want to make it clear. The way we did this list, we tried to combine, who has the most accolades with just like general basketball ability, make it a more opinionated list rather than just do a list for the most dominant, the most accomplished, and the greatest. We tried to combine it all and just do like our subjective lists.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely love it, man. All right. Starting from number 10. How about I start? I'll start.
Sounds good.
I kind of got a 10A and a 10B, boys, because I felt like they had to be on the list. I'll make both of them pretty brief. It's Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain.
Hey.
Okay.
So, I mean, both probably the best players of their decade, of their era in the NBA. Wilt, obviously one of the most dominant players of all time. Bill Russell, one of the most winningest players of all time. But, the era was way different. There's not a lot of video, hardly that many stats, so we couldn't really think of kind of compare them to today's NBA. But we look at what they did do for the game, how much they accomplished, and I felt like they had to grace the list at some point. So I could only put them as high as like number 10. But because they kind of come from the same era and they kind of go hand in hand, I kind of clumped them together as one.
Okay.
Chuck, I did pretty much the same thing, except instead of doing a 10A and a 10B, I put Wilt 10 and Bill Russell 9. Like you said, both of these guys were phenomenal players. Bill Russell, 11-time champion, 5-time MVP. Wilt Chamberlain, statistically, like probably the best player ever if you just look at his pure stats. And, super dominant, 4-time league MVP, 2-time champ. But the problem is, like you said, how do you compare their eras with the modern game of basketball? I mean, Elgin Baylor in the 60s had a year where he averaged 38 points and 13 rebounds, and he was like 6th in MVP voting. So it was just a different time. Like, that would be unanimous MVP.
Averaged a triple-double and got snubbed.
Yeah, so it's just, I decided these guys belong in the top 10, but, I just am going to put them 10 and 9 because I don't know if I can rank them higher than some of the other greats.
100% agree.
Okay. I'll go last because my number 10 varies from all three of your guys's. So,
Scott, you want me to go next or you to go next?
Go. Scott
just named his 10 and 9.
Okay, I got another 10A and 10B. Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, 100% agree.
Okay, fellas, part of the point of this list was that you had to make tough decisions.
You had to narrow it down.
Keep people out of the top 10.
This is the one, part where it's like you can't I can't put one over the other.
Charlie's
I'm sorry,
gonna be
I can't.
Charlie's going to be like at 1A and 1B.
No.
One D, one D.
This is the last.
Looking
I
like
agree.
an AP test out here, bro.
Dude, so this is what I have to say. That Celtics team was a freaking all-star team back then, and I can't put Bill Russell higher than Wilt just based off winning. But at the same time, Wilt was just so good statistically. I mean, 50 points per game in a season,
And
48 minutes,
boards.
26 boards. He has pretty much
average 65 in a season. So
facts. He has pretty much every record known to man in both the playoffs and in the frickin' regular season. So I have to put him this low, though, because the era was just so much different. I did a video on this. The average center was like 6'9" and like 220 back then. Nowadays, it's like 6'11", 260 is like an average center. So, I mean, I just think the skill levels also changed, the size and strength, the athleticism, everything has changed since then. I think it's gotten way better. So I just can't put those guys any higher. I think they were just ahead of their time.
Okay, my number 10 is completely different. I actually probably the hottest take on my list. Maybe not. I left Bill Russell off of my top 10 because, just looking at his team, he was playing with four other future Hall of Famers on the same squad, and not to discredit his personal affinity for basketball, but I left it off because I personally value just your impact on the game and your basketball ability over accolades because it's a lot less prone to circumstance. I went number 10. I went with the player that I think has had probably one of the biggest impacts on basketball, and I went with Steph Curry.
I like Curry.
Definitely.
I went with Steph because, he's completely revolutionized how we've seen basketball in the last decade. No one's done it like he has. He's changed it so that like centers are pulling up from 30.
He's just so inspirational.
Look at Curry, man. Look at Curry.
No, such an inspiration.
He's not just a pure shooter. He can get to the basket when he needs. He has a really underrated handle.
Really underrated passer,
I think,
too.
he's I think one of the better playmakers of the last decade. Playmaking, not just being assists.
For sure.
Yeah, I think pretty much considered unanimous greatest shooter of all time. Three-time champ.
100%.
Probably, I think you could argue the greatest MVP season ever with the 50-40-90.
Possibly.
Other than it was 50-45-90 actually. That's just absurd.
If you want to
first unanimous.
But yeah, I went with him at number 10. And just to save space, I went with Wilt at 9 just because of his NBA 2K looking like stats. But
Yeah.
I had Hakeem Olajuwon at 9.
Ooh.
Okay.
Absolute.
Nick, you seem a little distracted.
Nick's heated.
Man, I love Hakeem. I think Hakeem is amazing. But
he's
probably
top
10.
Is he on your list, Nick?
top 10.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Oh, I won't.
ESPN did a list, and Hakeem wasn't top 10.
That is literally making me so mad. They have Bill Russell at 5. Okay, Bill Russell at 5.
Yeah,
all right.
He's a 5-time league MVP.
Talk about Hakeem now.
Yeah, let's.
The
let's
reason
talk about
I
it.
have Hakeem so low is because the
Low?
Rockets, at number 9 as opposed to Nick having him higher.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining my reasoning. Is because Hakeem and the Rockets never really accomplished anything until Jordan was out of the league, and they never really made it to the finals while
But
Jordan
it's
was there.
understandable.
It was only the 2 years when Jordan was quote unquote gone from basketball
He
where
was
they
literally
actually
gone.
capitalized with the help of Clyde Drexler.
Yeah.
I can't overlook Hakeem's stats. He's got insane numbers for blocks, steals, probably one of the top 5 defenders ever. And
Number 1.
as a big man presence, he is unreal. He gets insane amounts of rebounds.
Mhm.
I mean, he invented the dream shake, which is just players still use it today, and you get
Joel Embiid.
absolutely
like a
you get a
prototype.
huge reaction
For
from
sure.
the ball. Very good back to the basket, can shoot the mid range. Hakeem is just overall an amazing player, but because he didn't really win in his time, that's why he's only number 9.
I mean, 2 chips. But
2 chips.
It's nothing to scoff at, but
Yeah.
everybody else on this list has won a lot more.
it's not like Bill Russell or anything like that.
That's true.
With his
Yeah.
11. Yeah. Okay, Scotty.
You know, Chuck, my number 8 was Hakeem Olajuwon.
No. You already said 9.
Well, I didn't say my 9.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, my bad.
you jumped the gun a little bit, bro.
Well, you know what, Chuck? You cheated by doing 10A and 10B, bro.
Yeah, for real.
So get
bro.
out of here, man.
Nick did it too.
Yeah.
Well, it's understandable. But
Yeah, because you did it too.
Yeah.
Y'all are clowns, bro. You gotta keep.
All right. My number 9, I had to put Shaq. I think Shaq is easily, probably in his prime. I would say no one could guard him. I think if we're talking individual best at one specific time, Shaq is number 1. But it's the fact that his prime was a little too short for me, and it was the fact that he really didn't actually get as many accolades as it points out. He only got 1 MVP, which is not that many.
Steve Nash robbed him twice.
Steve Nash robbed Kobe, I would say more. But anyways,
And
I think
but
okay, if we're being honest, that Suns team went 65 wins. So I kind of agree with it. I understand it, But anyways, as I was saying, I have to put Shaq at number 9. I think he could have been so much higher if he took care of his body more. Actually, really, I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say tried harder, but almost in a way, yeah, tried harder. He if he wanted to and kept up his body, he could have been easily the best player ever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is it my
Dimitri,
turn?
you're number 9.
Okay. Well, I kind of talked about my number 9 being Wilt, but I'll go with my number 8. My number 8 is also Hakeem Olajuwon.
Jesus.
Yeah, pretty much the same reasons. He really
You're
only
talking about your
won.
number 8. Okay.
He really only won when Jordan was gone. Career average of 22 points and 11 rebounds and 2.5 assists, which are, great numbers and all. But, I think when it comes to – I think you have to balance it pretty equally, and I don't think 2 championships is enough to put you higher than 8, assuming – or, not barring, like, you're, like, a basketball god or anything, And I don't think Hakeem was, like, quite there. So.
So it's my number 8 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got Mr. Fundamental, Timmy Duncan.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
I agree.
So, Chuck, this is what
I
I
agree.
hate. I had to leave Tim Duncan off my list. I was choosing between him and Hakeem.
I
And
was
had to
too.
leave him off to put on Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, and you just cheated your way out of this with 10A and 10B.
Yeah,
Put
bro.
on both the big
Because
fundamental
you don't get to
and
show
the
love to
dream.
Tim Duncan. Scotty's not happy because you don't get to show. I'm sorry, Scotty. I'm sorry.
No, you're
But
chilling,
this,
bro.
This is
You're
where I
chilling.
have Timmy Duncan.
Honestly, I'm just upset because I didn't think of that.
You should have done it after he said it. Just said, screw it. I'm going to put him there.
Yeah, but then that makes Scotty not a man of his word. Nick.
Yeah, that makes Scott a hypocrite.
Yeah. But, Tim Duncan, what more can you say about the guy that hasn't already been said? His
Yeah.
nickname is Mr. Fundamental. He's probably top 3 post players ever, if not the greatest. Just a consistent Spurs dynasty, never missed the playoffs in his entire career.
Absurd.
That is exactly. That's absolutely absurd. While he did have some help along the way with David Robinson in the early beginnings of his career, Tony
Kawhi.
I mean, in fairness, though, Chuck, David Robinson never won anything until Tim Duncan joined the
That's
team.
true. That's true.
That was my
And it was his rookie
But
year.
who really?
stole my point, you jerk.
I don't think anyone's ever really done it all on their own.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No,
he had
no
done
one's
it
ever
for
done it.
a couple years.
What?
Well, Dirk had role players out of he had so many role players.
But being the only all-star on your team is
I
That's
think
true.
that's probably the greatest like underdog
Greatest
playoff
playoff run.
run I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Going back to Tim Duncan, like the man was just clutch too. Like he's had but quite a few clutch moments, especially that one with I don't even know how many seconds left against the Lakers, where he's fading from the top of the key. Unfortunately, Derek Fisher had one of the craziest shots ever, but it just proves Tim Duncan's clutch factor. He's no slouch on the defensive end as well. Rebounding, absolutely phenomenal. It's just Tim Duncan had to be on this list, and I'm really happy I thought of 10A and 10B, so he didn't have to be number 9.
100% agree.
Look, when you say he's no slap on the defensive end, what was he, like a 15-time all-defensive player?
Yeah.
He was all
He
right. He was all right.
He was okay.
He wasn't bad. Yeah. He's not horrible. But, yeah.
Is it my turn, right?
I think
Scotty,
I
your
think
number
it's Scotty
8
at 7.
Your number
Yeah,
8.
so my number 8 is Hakeem Olajuwon. For a lot of the reasons you guys mentioned. Defensively, he was incredible. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I put him below his fellow big man, Shaq. And, big shot Robert Horry actually played with Shaq, Tim Duncan, and Hakeem Olajuwon. And he said Hakeem Olajuwon was by far the best out of all of them, 20 times better than Tim Duncan. In his best season, he's the only player ever to do this, to win MVP, Finals MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year. Super dominant. But like Chuck said, he only won in those 2 years when Jordan was gone. And while him and Shaq both won 1 MVP, I feel like Shaq got robbed of a few more, whereas I don't really feel like Hakeem was, robbed of any MVPs. Yeah. His defensive value was a lot greater than Shaq's, but kind of like we talked about, Shaq was, more dominant at his peak, whereas Hakeem was more consistent over a longer period of time. And to me, I just prefer the dominance of Shaq.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I had to go Tim Duncan at number 8. And my reasoning is that he is arguably the most consistent player. He was always producing for his team. There wasn't a year in which he didn't actually do something for his team. I mean, even at the end, when he was retiring in the 2015-16 season, that Spurs team, what did they win, 65 wins or something like that? They were a little lower. They were still like a really, really good team, right? They had Kawhi, but I mean, still, Tim Duncan was like producing, and he was their center, and he was like
Marcus.
Yeah, and then I don't really know his age at that point. He was older at that point for sure, but I just think he's just so consistent. And then like he's had some crazy years, like 2003 finals. They were talking about this the other day when he averaged like 24, 17, and 5 blocks for an entire series. I mean, it just shows his production. I mean, he does everything for a team, and he's like he's the player that a coach wants to have, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Deem, your number 7.
My number 7? Okay. My number 7 might be another hot take. I don't know. I went with Kobe at number 7.
Me too.
And
Agreed.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I put Kobe at number 7. You know, nothing really needs to be said about Kobe. Rest in peace. He's a GOAT. Not literally, but I mean he's one of the GOATs. You know,
Why would anybody think that literally?
no, I meant like he's not like the number 1 greatest
The
of all
GOAT,
time.
okay.
Yeah, the GOAT. But like yeah, I mean, what is he number like 4 in scoring all time, something like
Yep.
that? He just got
behind LeBron,
behind
Kareem,
LeBron
and
and Kareem
Karl.
Malone. You know, I think Mamba mentality. He's so clutch. Brought the Lakers to so many championships. Had a great tandem with Shaq for those years in LA. I think where he kind of does falter is I think the Mamba mentality kind of might have caused him to shoot his team out of a game, out of a clutch game.
In some of those later years,
a few too many times.
True.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think. I think he oftentimes, not to say he was necessarily, you know, a terrible teammate or anything, but I think he tended to be a little selfish in his scoring in the playoffs, and it might have brought his team down a little bit when they needed not the clutch shot, but the correct basketball play, which I think he sometimes failed to see. But you know, regardless, one of the greatest players to ever live. I don't think anyone would dispute that.
So it's my number
Yeah.
7 now?
Yeah.
Because, Scotty, you said Kobe as well. Do you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
elaborate on Kobe before?
Everything Deem said. He's the closest thing we've ever seen to Michael Jordan since.
Mhm.
You know,
Literally
just
a copy.
pound
I
on.
also went with Kobe. Yeah, and
He's a guy who'll go out and give you 30 while taking
Mhm.
you know, best guard defensively, 12-time All-Defensive Player, 18-time All-Star, 15-time All-MVP, All-NBA, excuse me. He only got 1 MVP like Shaq, but like we mentioned before, he probably should have gotten a couple more. He's robbed of a few, so.
I think the things that would have put him higher is if he was more efficient, you know, and took care of the ball a little bit more as like a shooter and a scorer. And then I think that if he won more MVPs, you would be higher on my list. And and if he didn't, and if he won more Finals MVPs, because I mean, if you look at that,
Shaq won the first 3.
Shaq won the first 3, and then Kobe won the next 2 with the other teams. So
Okay.
So Chuck.
So I had Shaq here at 7.
Okay.
This is where I put Shaq. I mean, Nick kind of said it best when he said Shaq in his prime years probably was the most dominant player ever, to the point where nobody could stop him. One of my favorite like Shaq moments was the Magic in the finals and Shaq's like 2nd or 3rd season with the Magic. And I was watching the Magic 30 for 30 the other day. And there was this interview on Hakeem, and Hakeem just said, man, that boy is big, but he never gets tired. He ran his butt up and down the court the entire game, and Shaq didn't get tired. And Hakeem was like, I forget what he was nearing the age of, but he wasn't in his heyday. And Shaq was like,
he was probably 34.
Yeah, something
here,
like
I can look it up, but as you're saying.
Yeah, and Shaq was just bullying his ass in the paint, bro. He was absolutely dominant. He was
Nick's like,
no. He's like, no, not Hakeem.
Wasn't that the series that the freaking Rockets ended up winning?
Okay, but if Nick Anderson makes those free throws,
Nick Anderson, bro.
Wait, what year was that?
True.
Was that
94?
Was that 94, 95, or 93, 94?
95, 94, 95.
Yeah.
Okay.
94, 95.
I'm looking it up.
And I mean, Kenny Smith had a great shot to keep the Rockets in that series, man. But,
I think the Rockets that year were like a 4 seed too.
The Rockets swept that team.
They were 6 seed, I think.
The Rockets swept.
Nick Anderson missed the 2 free throws in the first game.
He missed like 4 free throws in the final minute, bro.
Bro,
Right, because he got his own rebound.
Listen to this. Hakeem averaged 33, 2 blocks, 2 steals, 5 assists, and 11 rebounds.
What did Shaq average?
Give me a second. Jesus. Someone talk about something.
But regardless, even when Shaq went to the Lakers and was paired with Kobe, man, he was still just an absolute force.
Force, bro.
I mean, that was his heyday, man.
Shaq averaged 28, 2.5, 12 rebounds.
Okay, so pretty comparable.
Pretty comparable.
Pretty close.
And the only thing I really have is because Hakeem kind of won when the NBA kind of had an excuse for him to win. Shaq went out and took it for himself with Kobe. Like, that was.
Bro, the Blazers should have beaten the Lakers. We should have. Shaq shouldn't have had that ring.
Shaq and Kobe went and ripped the title out
Bro,
of AI's Sixers.
We got outscored 31-13 in the fourth quarter of that game, man.
Saddest game ever.
Wait, what happened? What?
So in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals in 2000, the Blazers are up 15 points going into the fourth quarter. We had Scottie Pippen, Arvydas Sabonis, Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah,
we were
the team was nice.
Yeah.
And we got outscored 31-13 in the fourth quarter and lost.
Nice.
The Lakers went on. We totally would have won.
That proves how good Arvydas is, though.
The Lakers literally swept. I think it was
He's starting Shaq for that entire series, though, and they went to 7.
And lost.
Think about that. But they still went to 7 when Arvydas, who was like 35 at the time, was guarding Shaq in his prime.
Yeah.
Chuck's like, what?
Okay.
Arvydas is pretty good.
Has everybody said their number 7 player?
I think so.
Arvydas Sabonis is pretty good, man.
Wait, yeah, I've said him.
He's dominant.
Yeah,
he's a beast.
He's iconic.
That's our number 7. Best passing big man ever, probably.
So number 6?
If not, Nikola Jokic. Yeah, so number 6.
Walton.
Who's going on number 6?
Okay, number 6.
That'd be you, Deem.
Oh, is it me? Oh, okay. Well,
you can go
my number 6. My
go.
number 6. I went with Shaq. I feel like you kind of put Kobe and Shaq next to each other in most lists.
Not on mine, though.
Unless, okay, weird. But
you and I are in sync here, man.
Huh?
You and me have like the same list other than Curry. I got Shaq at 6.
Great minds think alike, bro. What can I say? But I'll move on and let Chuck go with his number 6 because we've talked plenty about Shaq.
Yeah, so at 6, I have Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disrespect, bro.
Scotty,
Sleeping on Larry Legend, man. I'm telling you.
You're a big Larry Bird fan, man. I know you're big. I love Larry Bird.
Larry Legend, bro.
He was legend. One of the best trash talkers ever, one of the best scorers ever, one of the best all-around players ever. Those Celtics and Lakers teams in the mid-'80s, absolutely just like going at each other. Great 30 for 30 on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give it to Magic and overall players, though, like as an overall player.
I can understand.
Scotty mad.
Scotty's really mad. But, I mean,
Scotty, like, on the inside, he's, like, burning with rage.
Bro, Chuck and I have had similar lists, too.
An unathletic white guy, man. We don't agree on Hakeem Olajuwon, bro.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I just have him 3 spots ahead. That's it.
Yeah, man. I mean, Scotty, I know you're going to want to talk about Larry Bird some more, so I'll leave a little bit more for you.
Yeah, we'll let Scotty gush about
Larry
Larry
Bird.
All right.
Nick, who you got at 6?
So I also have Larry Bird at 6. I think one thing that I think a lot of people don't really touch up on is how Larry Bird was actually a pretty good rebounder. I mean, his career stat per game.
He's the only player in history to average 24, 10, and 5 in his career.
Yeah, he was a good rebounder. And he could pass, he can shoot, he can defend, he can pretty much do it all. And I think Larry Bird is easily one of the greatest players of all time. He has 3 MVPs, right? 3 MVPs?
3 consecutive MVPs.
Yeah, so and then I think he averaged a 50, 40, 90, so 2 seasons, right? 2 seasons? Yeah. Pure, just straight up efficient as hell. I think he was the first player to also do that, first player to get a 50, 40, 90. I just think he's a great player, pretty much great at everything. He's an all-around player.
Fair.
Deem your number 5.
My number 5 is Larry Bird. My number 5 is Larry Bird.
Okay.
I won't speak on Larry Bird. He's an all-time great.
The legend, man. All right.
I'll let Scott, put him a little higher than he needs to be.
Okay.
So, my number 5 player.
No. Let me do my 5.
Okay.
It's
And
just
then I do my 5.
Yes,
and then you
Scott.
do your 5.
We'll just do it
Go
real
on,
quick.
Scott.
We'll do it real quick. It's Kobe, man. I have Kobe at 5.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I think you can definitely make an argument for Kobe being higher maybe. But this is where I have him. This is where I feel like he deserves to be. Obviously, rest in peace. He's, as Deem said, one of the GOATs. The Mamba mentality. Deem did a great job covering a lot of that stuff. Absolutely tenacious defender. But he gives respect to his opponents. Deem, you did a great job. I'm trying to think of things you didn't say, but you pretty much just said
What
everything.
can I say, bro? What can I
He's
say?
he's like a carbon copy of Jordan, man. Especially watching The Last Dance and being interviewed. He's like, and everything that you get from me, I got from Jordan. And I was like, dang, okay.
Yeah. There's like a 10-minute YouTube video of Jordan and Kobe side by side, literally
Them
doing
pulling
the
off the
exact
same
same
moves.
movements. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
My man's was obsessed with him.
He's a pretty decently consistent winner. Lakers were pretty much a very dominant team in his time. He's got 5 rings to show for it. So, yeah.
All
Scotty,
right.
your number, Scotty, 5.
What's Scotty's 5?
Wait,
What's
what?
Scotty-
Let's hear Nick first.
After. Okay. Nick.
Bro.
Nick, who you got?
Okay. So I got Hakeem. You guys are going to be mad at me for this. He's easily the greatest defender of all time. If you
He was
look
really
at him,
good defender.
what'd you say?
He was a really good defender.
Easily. Best post defender of all time by far. Number 9 in all-time steals. Number 1 in blocks by such a large number. I think it's 600 blocks. He has seasons where he's averaging 4.6 blocks and 2.1 steals. That would have led the league in both categories last year, other than, I think, steals by 0.1. But anyways, literally everything about him defensively just made him so good. And then he was also arguably the most skilled center other than maybe Kareem. As in, that man had the greatest – but Kobe studied Hakeem's footwork. He's talking about this. Hakeem, who's a 6'11" center, was getting studied by 6'6" Kobe Bryant, who's a shooting guard, right? He's a great passer, a great scorer. He could lead a team. I know that he only won when MJ was out, but let's be real. That's because MJ was out. MJ was keeping him from winning.
Yeah, but the Rockets never made it to the finals.
I know, but MJ was always there as a threat.
Well, the Rockets made it to the finals, I think, in '86, but they lost Celtics.
I think the Celtics. Yeah. But I gotta put him Hakeem this high. Greatest, best defender ever, most skilled center ever. I just don't know what else to say. I gotta put him at number 5.
Yeah, I just think you're disrespecting Larry Bird with 3 MVP awards.
Hakeem has 2.
3-time champion.
3 is more than 2.
By what?
3 is also more
Three
than 1
Three
in MVP.
consecutive. 3 consecutive as well.
Hakeem got 2 consecutive.
No, he's talking
3
MVP.
consecutive
not ring.
yeah. MVP.
Yeah, I know. Hakeem got 2 consecutive MVPs.
Hakeem was a 1-time MVP, Nick.
He was? Wait, what the hell?
Yo!
He won 93-94. That's
Who
it.
the hell was number 4? 94, number 5.
False.
94-95 was I can't remember, honestly.
Okay,
but it wasn't
I totally forgot that. But anyways,
Scotty just
Hakeem,
dropped a bomb,
I got to put him
bro.
up that high. Best defender ever, by far.
94-95 was David Robinson.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
who
he
it
was a beast.
Yeah. Athletic as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Robinson was athletic as hell. Scotty, go ahead.
My number 5.
Damn, y'all gotta roast me like that.
I think we're all gonna have the same top 3 here, but my 5 and 4 are Magic and Larry.
Not the same.
Not the same ranking, but the same 3 players. So, the reason why I put Bird ahead of Magic, and pretty much everybody puts Magic.
guessing we all got Magic at 4.
I have Bird at 4.
Yeah.
Magic.
Well, yeah, except you,
Trash.
Scott.
Garbage, Scott.
Wait, where's Larry Bird on your list, Scotty?
4.
4.
He just said
Okay.
4.
Okay.
So just hear me out. Everybody puts Magic higher, and I love Magic. He was a 5-time champ, 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, great player. Both of them won 3 MVPs, right? But just hear me out with this. I think we can agree that Magic's 5 rings, Bird,
That Magic what?
Magic's 5 rings to Bird's 3, right? Like, they were both good enough winners that we can look at them as individual players and not just say, because Magic won 2 more, he's the better player. Because the truth is, Bird had some back injuries that kind of held him back at the end of his career. Magic got to play longer. Here's another thing. Magic and Bird both won 3 MVPs.
Magic did have AIDS, so
Magic
Getting
played
pretty
13
comparable.
seasons.
No, but
Career
Magic played more seasons than Bird did.
that is true.
How many Birds did play again? Like 11?
Yeah, I think he only played like 11 or something. But, yeah. Here's another thing. You look at Magic came to a team that had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he won 5 titles with Kareem. Kareem won 2 out of the 5 finals MVPs. Magic was great. He was clutch. But his assist total would not be as high if he didn't have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Great of a passer as he was. At the same time, Bird was a better scorer overall. He was a better rebounder. He was a better shooter. And he was a better defender. Bird made 3 all-defensive teams. Magic never made an all-defensive team. Bird could lock you down on defense. He could do everything. He was super versatile. In his best years, Bird was averaging 30 and 10. Those are Shaq-like numbers. Well, shooting 43% from the three-point line and 90% from the free throw line. This guy was incredible. He won 3 straight MVPs in a row. For a 3-year period, he was the unquestioned most dominant player in an NBA that featured Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Right?
Scott,
He was the best. He's
Scott,
the only guy.
I think you're failing to realize that if Larry Bird was black, he would just be another player.
Who said that again?
Isaiah
Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh my God.
Bird was incredible. He was the only guy to average 24, 10, and 5 on his career. And another thing, I feel like Magic MVPs.
I think Giannis is going to end up
He's
doing
the
that.
only to average 24, 5, and 10.
Giannis will do it.
Yeah.
I mean, 10
Giannis
and 5.
will definitely do it.
Giannis will do it at some point.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. I feel like some of Magic's MVPs, he won at the tail end of the 80s, early 90s. I think those should have gone to Michael Jordan, who was averaging, like 35, 6,
That's
and 5.
true.
Didn't get MVP because, Magic's teams were better. And, Bird was incredible. The one other thing I have to say for Bird is you look at his rookie year when he came to the Celtics. They were so bad they had, the number 2 pick, right? He turned that team around, a 32-point win differential, and he was the only player the team added. A 32-point win change from one season. They went from, top 2 pick to first in the Eastern Conference his rookie year.
I didn't know that.
That is pretty impressive.
That's all I got to say for Larry and Magic.
Hey, you almost
Scotty
convinced me
pleaded
to
his
switch
case,
their
bro.
places, Scott. You almost convinced me.
Not yet.
But I'm not. I'm not switching. Who's going now? That was quite a rare. I forgot.
I mean,
what
we
I
team-
think
all
it's
have
Deem. It's Deem, right?
Well, because we know yours is Magic, so let's just move into the top 3.
Oh wait.
What's
I have
Knicks? What's Knicks for?
Knicks is Magic.
I have Magic, but it's because I'll just say
go
two
for
quick things.
Go for it.
I mean, you look at his defensive stats and his versatility. I mean, this guy could play any position on the court. That one season, his rookie season, right, was 79-80 when he was in the finals and subbed in for
played
center
center,
for
game
Kareem.
6, Philly.
Yeah.
And scored 4 points and 17 rebounds and 7 assists or something like that. That
It
is
was
absurd
42,
as a
15,
rookie.
but he was crazy.
Absolutely absurd. And then I think he's also one of those players that could easily, if he wanted to, have averaged a triple-double in his career. I think he's just one of those guys that can pretty much do anything on the court, and I got to put him that high, number 4.
Okay. Are we at my number 3 now?
We're at everybody's number 3, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be unanimous.
Yeah.
better
Number
be
3, Michael Jordan. No, I'm kidding, guys.
LeBron
I put
James.
Kareem. I put Kareem.
It's Kareem.
Number
It's
three
Kareem.
bar.
For sure.
Yeah, nothing needs to
100%.
be said. I believe is he 1 or 2 on all-time scoring? I can't
He's
remember.
number 1 on the
Number
list.
one,
on all-time
39,000
scoring.
points.
One of the greatest moves in NBA history. Countless championships
Unguardable.
with the Lakers. Yeah, unguardable.
And
MVPs on
unrepeated.
top of MVPs, bro. It's crazy what he was doing back in his day. The longevity too. He was playing for a long time and he was remaining consistent for a
Staying
long
really
time.
consistent, man.
Facts. He's got that Tim Duncan.
He had the fundamentals
consistency.
down, and he was able to last a long time in the NBA. I think I'll split up the talking time since we all have Kareem at number 3 and just move on to Chuck here.
He was just like going off of what you said, man, the consistency. He wasn't just a consistent scorer. He was a consistent presence in the paint. He was a consistent rebounder. He was a consistent blocker. He was very good at outlet passes. He was very good at getting teammates involved and not hogging all the points. However, my man could still go off for like 50 a night in clutch games, man.
Yeah.
And man was a straight savage. One of my favorite quotes from him was like, he gets a foul from Bill Laimbeer in the like 89 finals, I think.
Dude, that was so cap. That was a ghost foul.
That was the worst call I think I've ever seen.
Worst calls in NBA history. But he's getting interviewed after the game, and he's asked, what was going through your mind at the free throw line? And my man said, I like to get paid.
What a quote.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just a straight GOAT, man. He is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm going to real quick pull some stuff up about his career. I mean, this guy was a 6-time NBA champ, a 6-time MVP. Yeah, 6-time MVP, which is way more than everyone else. And then 11-time All-Defensive. He was a 4-time block champion. He pretty much did everything. He was a 2-time Finals MVP.
All-star, dude. He was an All-Star for 2 decades.
Freaking insane, right? And he was arguably the most consistent scorer of all time. I mean, there was hardly any games. There were hardly any games where he was fluctuating like any lower than like 20. And his career high isn't even that high. It's like 55, which isn't that high.
That's nothing.
No, I'm not saying it's nothing, but
That's chump change.
it's not freaking David Robinson who had 74 or freaking
Meet me on the court, boy.
Yeah. But anyways, as I was saying, Kareem is arguably the most consistent scorer of all time. He's efficient. He had the most unguardable move of all time, as well as the hardest to repeat move. I don't think anybody has really repeated the hook shot yet in like the NBA's recent history. And he can really just do it all. He can defend. Super underrated defender. I think that's one of the most underrated things about him. That guy could defend the paint. He locked up the paint. But, I have to go with him at number 3.
So if I can just say, I was really torn putting Kareem at 2 because in terms of accomplishments, accolades over his career, he surpasses everybody, right? And like we all mentioned, his skyhook's just an iconic shot. You know, he's a legendary figure in basketball. But what kind of hurt him, and this is the same thing that kept Magic a little bit below Bird for me, is Magic and Kareem, 2 teammates who both played, both top 5 players of all time, right? And so I think they both kind of benefited from playing with each other, like Bird and the guy who I have at number 2, LeBron. I don't think those guys played with anybody else on the top 10. So I think that kind of, held them both down a little bit for me, just in terms of they both benefited from having a great team.
For sure.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, bro. Yeah. This is definitely the hottest take, but I went with Michael Jordan at number 2.
Oh God,
No, he's a LeBron guy. He's a LeBron
I went with
guy.
Michael Jordan at number 2, and I'm not a stan.
We love him anyway.
I'm not gonna say anything bad about Michael Jordan because you can't really say anything bad about Michael Jordan, really. Other than maybe a couple of those teams that he faced in the finals weren't,
Michael
the
Jordan's
strongest in history or anything.
Michael Jordan's going to take that personally, man. He's going to come out of retirement.
Yeah, he's going to come and drop 30 on me. No,
bro, he said he could beat his Hornets players one-on-one.
Yeah, bro. And then Miles Bridges just like,
he was like, take me, bro, take me.
But I put Michael Jordan at 2. Not for any like particular thing that he did bad in his career, obviously, because it's pretty hard to nitpick at anything wrong that he did. A couple, maybe an early first-round exit when he came back from his baseball career. The Magic, and then.
Hey man, Terry Francona said if he
would have been major, bro.
100 at bats, he would have made it to the majors.
bro.
Francona's great.
Give him 15.
He should have stuck to basketball, bro. But
Francona's the man.
He should not have played baseball. I'm sorry. He should
yeah,
have.
He could have been
'cause
such a good
if
ball
he
player.
hadn't
Nick,
played.
when you say he shouldn't have, what do you mean?
It was okay for him to do it because it was like something that he knew he wanted to do eventually. But I mean, if that man did not retire and play baseball, he would have won 8 in a row.
I mean,
He
if
He
would've
would have won
10
8 in a row.
I mean, if he does,
I agree. I think he would have won more than that. I would think if he didn't retire the second time, I think he would have won 10.
Well, the second time was because of what's his
Jerry
face?
Krause.
Jerry Krause.
Yeah.
Breaking
Yeah.
up the whole team.
But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, too,
look,
it's kinda
we
like-
could get caught up in what ifs for like,
we'll talk
forever.
about that
It's like-
later. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and I there's not really anything I can say to degrade Jordan's career or anything. I think where it comes in the standing is when we're comparing him to a certain player that is on everybody's list. But he is there's a reason so many call him the GOAT, and his airness, all of that. He's a legend. He's an icon. But he's my number 2. And I mean, if he had stayed, Hakeem wouldn't even be on my list because he wouldn't have 2 championships. But
So I think
MJ legitimately said Hakeem was his biggest what's it called?
rival.
Fear. He said Hakeem was his biggest fear to meet up and play against in those years.
And Hakeem never got far enough to actually scare Michael.
Facts!
I don't know, man, but
Facts,
he won
bro.
2 in a row when he
Yeah,
he
you know
left.
who made it instead? The glove, who Michael Jordan didn't have a problem with.
The glove, bro.
The glove.
No,
I
sir.
don't have a problem with the glove.
The glove, Sir Charles, Clyde Glide.
MJ still cooked.
Yeah, that's what
So-
Jordan said he didn't. Yeah, that's okay.
If I can assume for Chuck and Nick here, I think we all have LeBron Raymond James Sr. at number 2.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily. Number
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
As great as LeBron is, super versatile. He's on his career averages 27 points, 7 boards, 7 assists, right?
27, 7,
In
and 7.
terms of versatility, right? Incredible passer, incredible scorer, probably the best driver of the basketball we've ever seen. His ability to rebound, great as well. He was a 6-time All-Defensive player, probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year
Probably
over
could've-
all that one year.
Oh, dude, that was such a
Marc
that was
Gasol,
highway
All
robbery,
NBA
bro.
second team.
Highway robbery.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Jesus
LeBron
Christ.
is an incredible athlete, 4-time MVP, and should have won more.
Definitely. They
it's
were.
the same Jordan
It's the
should've.
same with
They
Jordan,
got
where
sick
they
of
were
him.
they
They
were
got
handing
sick of
out
him.
consolation MVPs to other people, but
Like that year Derrick Rose won, for example. Derrick Rose
Or
and the
the
Bulls
year-
had a great season, but was Derrick Rose a better player than LeBron James?
no.
But that's not what the MVP is about. It's about the the player that carries you to the most wins, and that's why Nash won that.
Well,
one
it's
year.
not necessarily the player that carries you.
It's a
Mostly.
combination. It's a combination of
It's
how
But
well
it's,
your team
the
it's
best
does,
player
mostly
there
who wins the
personal
games.
performance.
I get what you're saying. But
Mostly who's winning the games.
as great as LeBron is, I think it's the titles that hold him back for me, because people say he had to face tougher competition, and I don't necessarily think that's fair, because the truth is, as a ton of people do, I don't blame LeBron for his 3-6 record. I think that's one of the
Yeah, I
weakest
don't either.
out there, because to me, that's him losing in the finals is the same as Jordan losing to the Pistons in round 2 or round 3 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I wouldn't dock him for getting to the finals and losing, more so than Jordan losing in the second round of the playoffs. But I just think the 3 titles, and especially against teams that he should have beaten, for example, that Mavericks series.
The one, yeah, that's the one
for
that I
sure.
will say.
The better
was-
team. And
was a
LeBron has
terrible
been
series.
his clutchness is definitely underrated. People say he's not clutch at all. He's had a lot of clutch moments, but compared to Jordan, the guy was just
Jordan is just the.
he wasn't gonna miss a
clutch.
They're just, I want to talk about this. They're different players. LeBron's
They
not
are,
going.
100%.
LeBron's a lot
passed
more
first.
cerebral about the game, not to discredit
Michael's
Jordan's
a
basketball
physical
IQ.
killer, bro.
Yeah, LeBron's always gonna look for the most strategic and most easily accessible basketball play that's going to win them the game. Even if that means not taking a contested 3 or whatever, he's going to dish it out to a role player that he think can hit the shot.
Yeah, man, he had a great pass to Chris Bosh, and then Chris Bosh to Ray Allen.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Facts.
no, LeBron
Yeah.
missed a shot.
Yeah.
Bricked it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at.
We're not going to talk about how LeBron like single-handedly carried them to that
No, he
point,
did.
but it's whatever, you know. It's
He
like
did.
whatever.
He did.
Yeah.
You look at Finals MVPs, regular season MVPs, all defensive teams, right? Like Jordan beats him in all those. Jordan was Defensive Player of the Year once. In terms of points per game on his career, Jordan's higher. Jordan was a better shooter. I know in terms of like 3-point percentage, you might not show it, but like Jordan didn't shoot threes early in his career when they weren't as popular. Like at his best, Jordan had years where he shot 43% from three. You know, like LeBron's
on how many takes?
Pretty efficient.
3.2.
Oh no, I was planning on doing a video on this. I actually know a lot about this. The thing is,
you're gonna do a video on Michael Jordan's 3-point percentage?
Yes, I was actually gonna do this because the thing is, the more shots he took, the higher his percentage got. No, it's true. It's true. The more shots he took, the higher his percentages got. Like the 3 years that he shot more than 3 attempts per game.
Black Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, were people as heavily guarding the three as they are now? No.
No, but the 3 years that he did.
Let's not act like people weren't guarding Michael Jordan intensely.
No, I'm not saying that, but it wasn't taken seriously back in his day for a long time.
But we can't sit here and pretend that people were giving Jordan a 6-yard.
I'm not saying that, bro. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it wasn't taken seriously.
Could I say that other thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Jordan's 3-point
3 years.
Yeah, go.
He shot 3+ attempts. He shot in those 3 years 37%, 36%, and like 42%. So those are all like good shooting years, right? But the fact is that the more shots he took, the more he made, and I think he's kind of an underrated shooter. I think if he took more, he would have been actually a very good shooter. And I think his shooting abilities are super underrated, and people always trash on him because he just doesn't take that many, you know. But he still was able to score. He was a 10-time scoring champ in that era.
Only player to average 30 points per game on his career.
Absolutely absurd. Wilt
Chamberlain.
30, yeah.
But
that's different. That's different.
You know, the modern era of basketball.
Yeah. Chuck, what the hell is that?
I mean, 27 isn't that far off from 30, but you know,
just like 3 isn't that far off from 6, but still a gap.
Yeah. Charlie's tweaking, bro.
Bro, ESPN actually did this thing the other week where they time adjusted Michael Jordan's stats for the modern game, and they calculated, you know, like the amount of threes that he was likely to attempt, and his points per game total went up to 47. It was also, we have to take that into account.
Look,
you know,
okay,
the physicality that he had to play.
I'm not gonna hate on Jordan in any way, but I think it is really irritating when people start to stand him so hard that they adjust his. They go delve into hypotheticals as to what he would be like in the modern day. Like,
that's fair.
You know, I think it's a little ridiculous, but you know,
because if Jordan was in today's game, we might not have had like a Stephen Curry to change.
But the thing is that I'm noticing with this
himself,
it's super hard to judge players based off of like eras. Because I think if you were to put like a really, really, really good player today, and you were to face him off with Bill Russell, like pick Bill Russell out of his prime and put him in a pickup game versus like all really good NBA players, I don't think he would be as good as what he was.
He's gonna get dumped on, bro. He's gonna
get dunked on.
He's gonna get dumped on.
He's like 6'10" and he's like 240, so he's not as big as most centers. But I think it's super hard to judge cross eras. I think the gap between like the 90s and the 80s is not as much as it is today as it is like the 60s and the 70s is today. Like the gap is so much bigger between that.
That's like a 40-year gap. That's like a 60-year gap.
That was a 10-year. That was like a 20-year gap.
I understand.
You said the difference between the 80s and the 90s is not as big as the difference between the 60s and today.
No, that's okay. I said that incorrectly.
60s and the 70s. No, I got what you're saying, Nick.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, you can explain it.
He's saying that the difference between basketball and 90s basketball, you can't compare to the difference between 60s basketball and 70s basketball. He's saying the game elevated in 70s, so the 60s players kind of looked like booty, while the 90s players kind of stayed.
Yeah, I did a video on this on like the skill levels too. Like certain moves weren't even invented yet because like people like hadn't done these moves. And some people like to compare NBA players and they're like, if they got all the training and the skills that these other players, that's different though, because it's like they're not the same player if you were to move them. You know,
kind of get
is that not what we just did with time adjusting
Jordan's stats.
Yeah, no, but I that's what I don't like about it. But it's different when it's like the 60s and the 70s to today than the 90s and
That's
today.
different when
not
it's
what
Jordan.
But we're not.
So if I can add one more thing, Dimitri.
Yeah.
You look at this, all of our lists, right? There's only one guy on here who's still active, and that's LeBron James.
That's LeBron.
Yeah.
When people say that LeBron has no chance to surpass
Stephen Curry.
I think that's well on Dimitri's list, Steph Curry. Yeah. But I think Curry's making a race for number one.
Well,
As
I didn't take the easy way out and do a 10A, 10B.
As much as I love Jordan, I think LeBron still has a shot.
Jealous, man.
He's still got, a couple chapters left in his book.
No, yeah.
If he wins 3 more titles, which is unlikely, but
That's not gonna
possible.
happen,
At the rate that he's playing now, with Anthony
If
Davis,
the season will start up already.
like
I think,
It's
I think
unlikely,
if this season had kept going, I know Scott's a Kawhi stan, but I think he had a real legitimate shot at
Kawhi will lock
winning
I
this
don't think
title,
Kawhi was going to win MVP. As much as I love Kawhi, I think LeBron.
You
was gonna-
literally in a video you said Kawhi was going to win.
Chuck,
Well, then he
I
started taking
I said he
reps.
was third after Giannis and LeBron. And you
Here's
were
what
like,
I'm saying.
no,
I don't think
Luka's
Kawhi's
ahead.
ever going to
No,
win
we clown.
MVP.
I said
don't-
Luka.
I don't think Kawhi's ever going to win MVP because I just don't think he cares about the
He
regular
doesn't
season.
care about regular
doesn't care
season.
about
Kawhi's,
Yeah.
And I respect that. That's actually
I
really
totally respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But
All right,
as you were saying, we
so,
should probably get back to
LeBron's
the
LeBron's
subject.
book is
One last
definitely still open.
who'd you guys put at your number 0 spot?
Oh, I had
Like the goat above goats.
I had Robert Horry. Big shout out.
Robert, okay. Yeah,
Taco Fall, bro.
I put
I have,
Dwight,
I have Brian Scalabrine,
Dwight Bright, big man.
the White Mamba.
The White Mamba. Hey man,
Good.
he's got one of the most legendary.
Y'all can gush about Jordan for a little bit.
He's got one of
You
the
guys
most.
can get your time.
I'm sure one of us will make a Last Dance video.
What was that Larry Bird quote from Isaiah?
That
What-
Bird wouldn't be
Larry
good
Bird was
if
just
he
a-
were not white.
Bird was a black player. He'd be
If Scalabrine was a black player, he'd still be the greatest player of all time.
Facts.
Yeah.
Hi,
Facts.
Peter.
Yo,
What's up,
BD?
V?
He heard
All
Nick's take and had to question.
Oh,
All right, boy.
God. But wait, I didn't even say.
right.
Yeah, Jordan's my number
Man.
one.
Bro. Yeah. All right, guys. Dean, take us out.
What?
Take us out.
Do your
Outro.
brother boot better bow.
Bro, I didn't talk about LeBron at all, bro.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about LeBron? Oh, come on. What do you have to say?
Bro,
What
I'm
else do
keeping
you have
it
to
a
say?
buck, bro. I just want to say, LeBron, in my opinion, is the GOAT. I think he has, in the latter part of his career, had a much more difficult time in the finals, considering the team that he played. I think we
yes.
can all, yeah.
I would
understand
like
what
to
you're
say
saying.
something.
But LeBron has been in the league for 17 years. The Warriors were 5 finals.
Yeah.
That's 12 other years.
Of the
He's
9
won
that he's
3.
been to. So a majority of his seasons, right? Or a majority of his final seasons.
But I actually have to say something on like the finals competition. I feel like a lot of people, they always trash on MJ's final competition, but people forget that the East used to be like the heavy conference that was like the
Yeah, he had
conference
to go through tough teams.
He had to go through way more players to get there. Way more players.
Yeah,
Well,
And-
even when you say trashing on his competition,
that's a great.
Jazz
I don't think anyone-
the Jazz had 2 Hall of Famers, 2 probably top 35 players ever.
Yeah.
The Suns had Gary
That's in
Payton.
my top 15.
Gary Payton's probably the best defensive guard ever. He's a Hall of Famer. Sean
They
Kemp.
went through the Blazers, Clyde
Right.
Drexler.
The Blazers, that team was good. They made it to multiple finals. He went through the Lakers with Magic, and he went through the Suns, who weren't the greatest team, but Charles Barkley was MVP.
And the Celtics.
And
Don't
Jordan.
forget early in his career.
What?
What?
Early in his career, he had to face up against the Celtics a lot, which was like another heavy
Oh.
competitor.
Oh, I was like the
Yeah.
the finals.
Yeah.
No, never in the
Conference,
finals.
dude.
Yeah, but regardless, I don't think any of those teams, maybe the Lakers, but I don't think we've seen a team quite like the 2017, 2018, either of those years, the Warriors, just with the spacing that they had and with the shooting that they had and with Kevin Durant in the back to bring them out of any game that they needed to if they shot themselves into a hole. I don't think y'all can say, but I don't know if those Bulls teams could have beat the Warriors. I think it would have been
It's
very
a different
even.
era. It's a different.
I think it would have been a very even split. Yeah.
It would be
No,
very
it-
interesting
It's
to
hard
watch.
to say which team would have won in a 5v5
Yeah, because
matchup.
it's different.
But all you need to know is the Warriors without KD went 73-9, beat Jordan's Bulls record, and then added a top 3 player in the NBA. And so in their era, in the era that LeBron played, it was impossible for him to beat those teams with Kevin Durant. We can't blame him for that.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that he in even some of those games, and I know everyone's like, oh, he had Kevin Love and Kyrie. Me and Scott were talking about neither of those guys. I don't even think those guys are going to be Hall of Famers in the end of it. Maybe Kyrie.
Maybe Kyrie.
Maybe Kyrie. Right.
But Caleb has a chance because of his Timberwolves years, but I don't think
it's going down.
His Cavs years have been pretty bad.
I love Kevin Love, but he's not going to be.
He wasn't the force that he was in those latter Cavs years, as opposed to when it was the earlier Cavs.
But
What?
LeBron kind of forced him into a shooter a little bit more than usual, so I think his stats also decreased because he was like their go-to guy in what's it called?
Yeah, but he sacrificed stats for championships.
What?
He sacrificed stats for championships.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
true.
I think
I mean that's respectable, and the fact that even in some of those years, especially 2015, when Kevin Love and Kyrie both went down, the fact that LeBron was able to drag that out to a 6-game series anyway.
Yeah.
Like he has probably some
Matthew
of the most
Dellavedova was the starting.
Probably has
Matthew Dellavedova is the GOAT though.
Some of the godliest stat lines in finals history, especially that 2018 finals run. I know the East isn't as strong as it used to be, but still, regardless, the fact that he took that garbage fire to the finals anyway, I don't think we've ever seen a player with a higher basketball IQ. You could debate it, but I think it's
made players around him better, man.
He facilitates like no one else in the game ever has. Maybe Magic, but he's a crazy athlete. I understand though why Jordan is regarded generally. I think if you're just looking at it, completely objectively, I understand, but I think subjectivity does fall into it a little bit, and that's why LeBron's my number one.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Deem, take us out.
Oh, I'm supposed to. Okay. Well, that's a lot of talking, bro. I need to take a breath.
Deem's got the best outro.
Hey
if you haven't been in the music channel, check. Deem does the best outro. It's very different from what we do.
That's the end of the video. Let us know what you think in the comments. Your top 10. If you hate me for putting LeBron at number 1, you guys can trash me in the comments. That's fine. I'm still a LeBron stan. Like, comment, subscribe. Bada bing, bada boop, bada bop, bada bam, bada bam.